Hey everyone, hope you guys enjoy our discussion today with Marcus Torgerson, Krav Maga expert, overall one of the most motivating individuals we've had a chance to speak with. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. Thank you for listening. So, hey everyone, today's guest is Marcus Torgerson, Krav Maga expert, tactical instructor, been 20 plus years in the club security circuit, and it's just an honor to have you here, Marcus.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very excited for this.
How have you been handling COVID and everything like that? Has it kind of rocked your world a little bit like everyone else?
Well, it's rocked my world financially because of the fact that I make my money getting on planes and going to different countries. So it's screwed me that way. But I was doing COVID isolation before it was cool. So
yeah, it is kind of cool being something like where you kind of. I obviously we both work with a lot of people. You have to deal with the public, but it is kind of there is something soothing about isolating yourself before all the craziness. So
I'm not big on how it's ruined a lot of people's lives, but it's been educational. It's taking a step back and looking at how human beings are. I mean, we're predictable, right?
Very. Everything's a circle.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And what I guess for the viewers, you guys, I definitely think they should follow your page because, especially like when I started going back to like March, you're very positive every day. Mm-hmm. You're very raw. You're very real, and I think that's kind of assuring to people that hey, you can still be yourself, but still kind of give the middle finger to any issues you have, and just put your head down and get it done. Yeah, I love that.
Thank you. It's refreshing with considering the amount of false images that we get on a daily basis and looking at social media, and if you're not authentic with yourself, you would get caught up in, oh my God, I have to be like this person or that person or whatever, and it's all bullshit anyway. So I'm thank you for that. I'm glad the more people that can be authentic, it would make a difference. It would make a difference on this planet.
Right. And I think there's a lot of celebrities I kind of follow, say like The Rock or and I don't necessarily follow for like the politics per se, because I probably don't agree with half the stuff they say.
Yeah.
But as long as the message is positive, I think social media can be a great thing. But the more real you are, you relate to the working man and woman who aren't on the red carpets. They're trying to survive with their kids and working 5 jobs. So
because we're all one paycheck away from being broke.
Right.
Like, let's be honest. We're all one. The Rock, God bless him, and all these people. Like, there's a detachment from reality between those people and us.
100%.
Right.
So let's get started. How did you let's go, like, when you growing up, I know you started at an early age.
Yes.
So what kind of led you into the Krav Maga?
Well, Krav Maga, I got into Krav Maga 15 years ago because of the fact that I initially just wanted to be a student again. I'd come kind of full circle with a bunch of stuff, like starting at a young age as a kid with Kung Fu and then doing Wushu, which you're having Keith Hirabayashi on.
He's the best. We talked to him. He was an awesome guy.
Well, when he was at the highlight, that's when I was competing. So I actually got my uniform like him, and I didn't fill it out like him, and I couldn't do what he did. But so martial arts has just been like eat, sleep, drink, live. But 15 years ago, I'd just been like, I was at a really bad spot. I just wanted to be sorry, brain's fried. I wanted to be a student, and that just wasn't in the cards. Like, I tried for a little bit, and then the school that I went to was kind of just not it. And then through happenstance and weird shit, I ended up going to Israel for a month and getting my instructor certification from there. And it's just been like, seriously, a roller coaster of unimaginable circumstances that have happened since then. But it started as I just wanted to be a student.
So you must be one of the only few non-Israeli instructors for that art, right?
Yeah, in my organization,
right.
I'm the only one on my team because I'm on a teaching team. But there's a few guys that are non-Israeli that are really high levels. But yeah, in my organization, I'm the only guy on my team that's non-Israeli.
And why choose Krav Maga? what in the beginning, what was the aspect that kind of drew you into that?
Well, now, and that's why it's funny we tie into the nightclub security thing. When you're seeing fights on a regular basis, or you're engaging in fights on a regular basis, whether you want to or not, you get to see very quickly what works and what doesn't work. Now, my upbringing, I was not always a nice person, so I got to see some and do some bad things. So when I was 15 years ago, I wanted to be a student of something that I knew for sure. Like, I'm a traditionalist at heart. Like, I'm a traditional martial artist at heart. But I know there's certain limitations that happen with martial arts. So I needed something that I knew would work when there's 3 or 4 guys, or if a knife came involved or whatever. And Krav Maga is it. Like, there's no matter what, it is the best system for the regular person to learn. And it's never failed me.
Yeah, there is something, like as you said it perfectly, the practicality of that art, especially in real world situations.
Yep.
So I guess my first question, are you trained to be on the offense and defense at the same time? Like,
yes.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, so like everything in life, you're having a choice. Am I picking the fight or am I finishing the fight?
Right.
So depending on the scenario or my job description, or, let's keep it at the lay person, right? There's just a regular person. I'm sitting there, I'm walking with my family, and some altercation comes in. I'm not able to de-escalate it. I have to make a choice. Is this scenario better suited for me to be offensive and just smack this person in the throat and pick up my kid and run? Or do I react to the scenario, deal with the thought, counterattack as soon as possible, and then scoop my kid and run away? So it really depends on which end of the spectrum you're going to be on in that given moment.
Right. In terms of when I was going to the federal government, I did Secret Service for like 6-7 years.
Okay.
And so in training, we kind of got like the gist of Krav Maga, like disarming and just. Yeah. But I guess in today's day and age, law enforcement specifically, they're under such a scrutinized eye that even with the best training in the world, they have to always in the back of the mind, well, if I do that, I could be on video. They're going to sue me. So how do you, in part of your training, how do you kind of help with the mental aspect of that where, hey, your life you still have to save your life and save others?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to law enforcement, and they're at this current environment, or whatever you want to call it, it is such a shit show for our law enforcement. And because there's some retards who are just fucking it up for everybody, you're hooped. So I'm going to go with the same adage that has been tried and true. I want you to get home the way that you started your shift.
Right.
And yes, there's huge legal ramifications. Your union may not protect you, and you've got legal bills. But if you're not able to hold your child, what the fuck does it matter? So when it comes to training and doing stuff, what bothers me about our law enforcement is because of the fact that they don't have the skill sets to either de-escalate because they don't have life experience, or when it gets to where you have to choose a tool, their first one is to go to that tool that may not be the best one needed in that environment.
Right. Articulation.
Yeah. And so, I'm all for guns and batons and tasers, but a lot of times you can take care of a scenario, and I'm not saying like soft versions. I'm talking about you can put a guy in his place without having to go to other tools, and that's where the legal ramifications come from. Now, I grew up in a generation where, when we would talk shit to cops and say, like, what's your badge number? They'd go by and say, here's my badge number, and boom, you take a shot in the mouth. You can't do that now, obviously.
Right.
But I'll tell you right now, I was less mouthy when I knew I was going to get an ass whooping.
Right.
So I'm not saying, I just think that because of the fact that there's so few bad apples that have ruined it, that the easiest solution to many problems is talk. If that doesn't talk, a good slap does wonders before you have to go to something that's going to change the course of a lot of lives.
Right. Somebody just brought up about the when I was talking with Keith Cook, we kind of transitioned into the fact that, hey, we're both pro guns, Second Amendment, die for that right. But just because you could have that right doesn't mean you should own a gun. and that you have to be able to train with it. And so we kind of discussed like, hey, just because if you're pulling out a gun, like you might be able to take care of the situation without pulling the gun out.
Yeah.
And so it's fascinating to kind of hear similar mindset like that.
Yeah. And it's funny because I honestly haven't been able to, like, he's always Keith Hirabayashi to me.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Master Keith Hirabayashi.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I didn't know he was Pro 2A or whatever. And I'll say this, as a Canadian, I was born in Canada. So the gun culture is different in Canada than it is obviously here. But I'm a big believer in anything. Obviously, I can take this bottle and I do the bad things to you with it.
Right.
It's not good. It's what's in here that changes a tool. A gun is useless without somebody pulling the trigger. But as you said, without any training, that gun is just a fucking vehicle. Jesus Christ, a car.
Right.
I take a car, I fuck up somebody's life and that's with a license.
Right.
Allegedly, I'm supposed to be okay with that.
Right, because you can do a 3-point turn, you're okay to kill a crowd of people.
In a heartbeat.
Right.
So I think that it's easy to blame firearms or wet knives, or it's easy to blame the tool, and that takes the responsibility and accountability off of the person. And I think that's unfair because you have retards with guns and you have good people with guns.
Right.
The gun doesn't change. It's the person doing whatever they're doing with it. You know? And we have a huge amount of new first gun owners now in the last, oh my God.
Insane.
Huge. Yet that same mindset of, well, now I have the gun. I've gone to the range. I put a couple of holes in there. They hit. I'm good. You know, it just scares the shit out of me because somebody's going to fuck that up and say that it's the gun's fault. It's not the gun's fault.
Right.
It's not the knife's fault. It's not the beer ball. It's not the car. It's the asshole driving it. Let's throw the accountability to where it belongs. Right?
Right. In Krav Maga, do you guys train with specific weapons, or is it something where, hey, depending on the situation I'm in, I may have to break this beer bottle, or I got to grab this pool stick? Do you guys train specifically for weapons, or is it, hey, given the situation, this is what you can do?
Yeah, I can't say that. And now I don't want to speak for the entire Krav Maga community because individuals do different things. But I believe that, like, we will train somebody with regards to a gun or a knife because of the whole disarming thing. And you need to know how that tool functions.
Right.
Otherwise, you know, it's ridiculous. But I believe that if I bring, like, let's use a baseball bat. You break into my house and I use a baseball bat. That's not Krav Maga. Right?
Right.
That's me using a baseball bat against a fucking asshole.
Right.
But if you're going to use the tool, I believe that you should learn how to use it. I'm not a big fan of disarming, personally. I'm not a big fan. The only thing that I would disarm is maybe a handgun within the right parameters and all the stars in alignment. Then we'll talk about disarming. But knives, sticks, stuff like that, man, I got to deal with the idiot and I got to get out of there. And I think that there's a little bit of romanticism in this stuff that, I'm positive you've had some altercations where you've seen that disarming is not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. It's not a perfect situation. You're not on a mat. You're not with perfect lighting. You're not with a role player that's has
going
a specific
with you.
Script.
Yeah,
just to get you to go. Okay, cool. You passed this test. So
right. No, ain't gonna happen.
Because it is so real, the Krav Maga training. Does it make training difficult because you can't actually, like some martial arts, you can do the kicks with the pads, but with you got the Krav Maga, it seems more aggressive. Yeah. So how do you train and how do you keep people safe?
Well, there's I think aggression is probably the hardest thing to get a student to be. Especially considering that most of your students are going to be good people. If they're good people, aggression is the hardest thing to get them into. But, you know, hitting pads or having headgear, things like that. I mean, my stress inoculation is still my favorite way. Exhausting the body and letting you see just how stupid you are going to be when this actually happens in real life is the safest manner that I've found to give some form of reality to it. Right. I think that sparring is not really our thing because we don't spar in real life. So, you know, I'm hitting with bad intentions.
Right.
That's what. So to get it as close as possible is usually just to tire somebody out after they've learned some set of a skill, and then letting them see how well that skill is going to fall to shit when
Right.
their stress goes to this.
It's because sometimes you see like those Bellator or MMA or UFC fighters, or judo, jiu-jitsu. It'd be kind of cool to see someone's like, oh, yeah, I've trained for 20 years in Krav Maga, but then you're like, dude, this guy's going to kill this person. So you can't, is it tough for Krav Maga to become mainstream, or are you guys in your community happy with the fact that you can just kind of stay in your little corner?
Well, I think in the 90s, Krav Maga was very mainstream when it first came to this country. And it's been, I don't want to say diluted. I can't say that. Krav Maga is a shitty business model. Okay? You can't have a good business model with Krav Maga, because if you're training people the way that they want to be trained, the average person does not want that to happen. They need some fitness. They need some, you know, some empowering type of things. Letting them see what violence really does and how to deal with real violence is quite it's a hard sell. So I feel a lot of empathy for guys that I've certified to become instructors, because I'm like, you know, you're fighting an uphill battle. So I'm a little more lenient with people who are like, okay, we're going to soften this up a little bit, because of the fact that the topic at face value is extremely intimidating to deal with. So the Krav Maga community is no different than karate or any other community. You're going to have people that are very good at ways to articulate how to deal with that violence or scenario, and you're going to have people who are absolutely fucking morons and fuck it right up. So
right.
And because human beings are human beings, it doesn't matter whether it's your industry, martial arts, car sales, it doesn't matter. You got people who are good at it, and you got people who are just should not be fucking doing it.
So what is the toughest part of being an instructor for Krav Maga? What you just said?
I think so. For me personally, the hardest part for me to convey to guys and girls who are trying to be instructors is I know that they're having an uphill battle, because the line between educating and empowering and shedding too much light on a subject that's going to terrify people is a razor's edge. And I think the best thing about being an instructor for my instructors that I've certified is empower, educate, empower, and allow them the growth at the speed of which they're going to grow. I could teach you, and your growth rate would be accelerated because of your life experience. I get somebody who's come out of a domestic violence situation, and I can't sit there and throw the same tools of education to them as I would for you. So it's got to be, and it's easy for me to say that because of my experience on all platforms. But a new instructor, it's very difficult to sit there and, well, how do I teach the same thing 6 different ways, right? And that's just experience.
And you're always learning too, I assume.
Oh my God!
So that's probably what makes you a really great instructor, because you're not afraid to learn or adapt.
Yeah, and I think the day that you sit there and say that, no, I have nothing to learn from that individual, I think you've started your own cancerous behavior and believing that your shit doesn't stink. And I got a real fucking problem with that.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the grading system for Krav Maga as you move up?
Well, now, like everything else, different older systems before we evolved, like our system has a patch system before we used belts. But in our system, in our organization, it's like there's 3 levels. There's a practitioner level. Everything has 5 ranks. Practitioner level 1 to 5, graduate level 1 to 5, expert level 1 to 5. I think actually they might have upped it to 6. So, you know, it's and you need that to have a structured system. You need something where goal-oriented people are like, okay, I did my practitioner 1. Let me go to practitioner 2. I'm not a big fan of ranks. I'm just not. I've got people that I've trained who are practitioner level 3, and their understanding and scope of the system is greater than people who I've had who are at graduate level 5 and almost at an expert level. rank, man. When you're getting your ass kicked, they just don't give a fuck. I get one guy who's been like, hold on a second, before we fight, what rank are you?
Right.
Because I need to get my system, my head ready for this fight. Fuck, man, they don't give a shit.
Right.
Bad guys don't give a fuck.
In the real world, you're not going to have that bow or that handshake before or after. So
nope. And and that's the one reason I love Krav Maga is just because of the fact that there is no rules. I can spit, bite, pour coffee on. I can take a fucking chair and ram it up your asshole. I can do whatever I need to do so that I get home safe to my family.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of transition into your kind of club security background.
Right.
How important is customer service in your industry?
Well, let's be honest. If you haven't got any customer service or people skills, you're going to be fighting every fucking night.
Yes.
And then your managers are going to be like, you know what? You are bad for business.
Right.
And you're not going to have a job.
I found that a lot of times we'll do like these events or kind of like red carpet events. We'll be like, oh, I'm a gold glove boxer. I'm a big muscle bound dude. I lift weights all the time. But man, 9 times out of 10, that person's the worst. They're already aggressive. They don't know how to communicate. Yeah. They can't articulate putting hands on someone. Yeah. They're a liability. And so that must be, as you do work in the clubs and you work with a team of people, you have to ensure that everyone is on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, now I was really fortunate. I've been, in the time that I worked in clubs, I worked with a plethora of different personalities. And then near the end of my time in the clubs, I worked with a group of us. There was about 6 of us. And we worked 2 different groups. Like we basically would uproot and just go to a different club. And we went almost 3 years without an actual fight.
Right.
Like, I mean, not talking about, you grab somebody by the underwear and throw them out, but an actual fucking go, we went 3 years. And that was a large portion of articulation and reading other people. Like I had a nickname. One of my guys wrote a book about our times in the clubs. And he had a nickname that I'm going to copyright it soon. He called me a Tasmanian devil with Tourette's. So in that way, I was a liability. So if I was starting to get to that point where I was a liability, one of my guys would come in, we'd deflect, and then somebody new would do it. And if you work as a team, because everybody's got that one person, man or woman, that will push your button where no matter how pleasant you are, you're like, you know what, I'm going to fucking headbutt you. So as soon as you just segue out of there and replace it with someone who can articulate easier on how to deal with that individual, then you're not going to have any fucking problems. Now, remember, managements are cocksuckers. They're the fucking worst because they don't really give a shit about you one way or the other.
They want the end dollar.
Yeah, they don't. Right. They want that customer to drink a shit ton, get overserved, pay their bill, and get thrown out all in a pleasant bow so that they'll come back next week.
Right. How often do you watch Roadhouse?
I have seen it. I've seen it probably over 200 times.
I love it.
As I get older, Sam Elliott's character becomes way more enjoyable to me.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's the worst injury you've ever had doing that type of work?
Bottle across my head.
Man.
Yeah, it's my fault. I should have known. All the fucking signs were there. I took eyes off of, and it was a woman. A woman cracked me. All my altercations, the bad ones, have come from women. Dealing with their boyfriend and then taking eyes off of her and.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you still actively? I kind of picture you now, almost like overseeing, like going in there as like a risk assessment and kind of overlooking teams, or are you still getting in there and just kind of?
No, I've completely detached from that aspect of it. Now I have gotten, through friends, or I have young guys who are like going into clubs, and I'm like, okay, look, here's what basically just don't do the following things, and you should have an easy time, because you can't educate somebody on how to deal with somebody until they get some feeling, right? They got to get they got to get punched in the face a couple of times before they learn that, okay, maybe I shouldn't use those words, and nothing you or I are going to say is going to change that.
Right. And just to kind of circle back with Krav Maga, there's that real world practicality of it where these are the real situations you're going to be in.
Yeah. And in any security situation, no matter how How many times you're looking at hands, eyes, hands. If it's your time to get a fucking altercation, it's going to happen. You cannot, there's no, like, you know as well as I do, so the word security is the stupidest word ever, because you can never be secure. There's always going to be a time where you're vulnerable and something bad's going to happen.
Look at Las Vegas, the shooting.
Yep.
That stuff like that, or like Manchester bombing with Ariana Grande, you're just kind of like, and I hate Monday quarterbacking. I'm sure you hate it too.
Oh, yeah,
but to study and to adapt and learn, you almost have to. But what could you have done? There's nothing you and I could have done with a team of 100 badasses. Like you couldn't. So
nothing.
It is kind of scary. It almost gives like a kind of a false sense of like,
security.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? 9 times out of 10, there's going to be no issues. But how do you train mentally and physically for something you can't control? It's a weird mindset to have.
Well, it is. But if you mitigate it to the point where you're like, okay, first of all, I'm going to die. So if, let's say I'm in a scenario where I can't escape, I can't do anything, and I've got 3 or 4 dudes. I have a very simple answer for it. The first guy that comes towards you after you've done everything, the first guy is going to, I'm going to be going to intensive care at best. Right. So I'm taking one guy with me. Now, when the police come and they interview me in intensive care and they're like, well, who are the people that attacked you? I want the nurse to be like, well, in his right hand, he had an ear. In his left hand, we know it's one eyeball. And then somehow in his pocket, he ended up with some type of flesh from a cheek. And in his mouth, he had actual skin from the skull that he chewed on. Like, I'm going out swinging because I know I'm going to get hurt. Now, I know that psychologically, if I sit there and I tear the ear off of one of the guys, the other 2 are less likely to engage in that fight. So I just have to fuck up the first guy really, really badly, and I don't have to worry about the rest of them. Now, as soon as I fuck up that first guy really, really badly, I'm going to jail. Right.
It's a crazy.
I'm fucked either way. Now, if I tell somebody that story and they're like, well, why should I even bother fighting then? Because you can't allow the enemy to have that power over you. Because where does it stop? Okay, I'm not going to fight against that enemy. So, like, it's a slippery slope. All of a sudden, you're allowing everything to happen to you, and you lose your sense of fight. And if you lose your sense of fight, you're no longer a human being.
Right. What were your thoughts on that couple, I think in Minnesota, that had the guns out?
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
Well, mostly I laugh at how the 2A community just shit on them because of their trigger discipline. It goes to see humanity, man. Humans eat their own. Well, without, like, obviously got some background on them and got to know them. But if just at face value, I'm obviously a big proponent of stand by your castle. I don't think it was the wisest thing, and you could see the fear in their face. Like, as a predator, you're fuck, man. If they had bum rushed them, maybe 2 guys or 2 people would have gotten tagged, and then they would have been fucking eaten alive. I think that there's bad people on this planet that when predators come in, you fucked with the wrong people. That wasn't them.
Right.
That was a fucking lawyer that was pretending to be something. He was in the deep end of the pool and he was drowning.
Right.
And he got off lucky.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things where you feel bad because they have the right to own the guns. And you just kind of, when you look at it after, I'm like, man, I wish that we could give them the proper training. That way they're not acting that way. Because there is a fear. But like we said, just because you own a gun doesn't mean you should be able to brandish it. Because if you pull that out, you better get ready to pull a trigger. And they were not ready for that.
No. They basically bluffed and it worked.
Right.
But the ridicule that they got afterwards, like, there's a lot of people that were like, I'm going to send you a rifle because theirs was confiscated. I get it. I get you want to support those people to do things. But instead, why not say, hey, you're in, I can't remember, they were in California? No,
Minnesota. Or
Minnesota.
Missouri.
Minnesota. Yeah. Yep. I'm actually going to Minnesota next week. But
perfect.
But somebody from Minnesota should have walked up and said, look, you guys got off lucky. We have a range here. You're coming. And 100%. You're going to get some fucking training so that because it won't happen again, but at least you won't look like a fucking retard and he was a lawyer.
Right.
Right. Get them in there. Don't make any big deal about it. Don't tell anybody you're doing it. Just get them in and be like, look, you guys need to learn how to fucking protect yourself. If these are the tools you're going to use, here's how you use them.
Right. And you could have done that when you first bought the gun. That's where, for me, I was
wow.
like,
oh,
man.
my God. Yeah. Don't. Oh, fuck. It's Pandora's box.
Right.
Right? Now, I'm in Arizona, and it is the best state around.
It's a dry heat.
Yeah, I fucking, yeah, it's a dry heat. I fucking love it here. But the amount of people that open carry or just, a bad person will snatch that fucking weapon out of you
100%.
and ram it right up your fucking cornhole. And that'll be the end of what you got going on. And then you're going to say, what? Guns didn't help me. No, guns did their job. You fucked up by not having that training. And that's ridiculous.
Right.
Absolutely ridiculous.
You're an instructor at Range Time LLC. What's all that about?
Well, Range Time is just a phenomenal place. So where they get confused, like, oh, it's a range. Well, it's not a live fire range. So they use simulators, the same as the military used to work on their marksmanship or drills and it can also be fun. So it is ideal. Like if let's say you had a person who is a first-time shooter. They've never shot a gun before. They come to Range Time and, it's CO2 based. So you get some feedback on it. So you get to see whether it works or not. And it builds confidence and education on this firearm. Now, it's a laser system, and I won't get too fancy on it because I really don't understand the science behind it. So you can do drop-ins, and so let's say I have a Glock 19. I can use my weapon, change out the barrels, put in their system, and I'm able to use my gun in a safe environment. No ears, no eyes. We still follow the same rules about the same 4 rules, but it's a fantastic way to educate and empower and strengthen your skills and your marksmanship without blowing through ammo, which right now is not the best time, right? But now for me in my job, I can take people who are, let's say they conceal and carry from an appendix. I'm like, okay, we're going to deal with knife stabs, and you go and you do all the moves, and then you can pull and there will be a target behind me, and you can shoot that target behind you so you can see your shot placement, you can see how you're doing it. But you can draw from your conceal and carry, which you can't do at a live range.
Right.
They're not going to fucking let you do that.
No.
And I can stand in front of you with the knife and stab you. You can do all your moves and then pull your weapon and shoot, which you can't do at a live range. So the benefits from what I do for a living, it's like a fucking kid in a candy store. We have like a kill house, a module kill house. So I can do home invasion stuff, and we can work on your how you deal with a home invasion situation. It's like Disneyland for me over there. It is absolutely the best location or scenario I could ever have asked for.
Well, it seems like it kind of contains some of your Krav Maga, some of your club stuff.
Yeah.
And it's some of your just firearms.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Where's
that based out of?
It's in Phoenix.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. And the ownership, I should say, because there's a guy, but there's 2 main guys there. They're both Marines, and it's not intimidating. Like the worst part about a range, in my opinion, not coming from a gun culture, is the bullshit that I gotta feel when I walk in. Oh, who's this person? Like the posturing in a gun range is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Like I don't go to gun ranges because I don't need fucking Joe BDUs with his open carry fucking. And he's 70 pounds overweight. Don't fucking tell me how to fucking shoot a pistol. I'm sure you can, but you can't even access your pistol because you're 70. Yeah, right. Big fucking deal. You can't use that gun in 90% of the situations. Now, when you do have to use the gun, I am obviously a big proponent, and you better fucking know how to use it. Make sure that you're good under stress and that you're familiar and you're good with the fact that the background and all of that stuff. Yes. It's a perishable skill. Yes, I want you to get to use it. But don't think it's the fucking end-all, be-all. And knife people, gun people, all of them, they fucking hate me because I'm like, look, man, it's a fucking tool. I can do as much damage with a fucking pencil, not to John Wick it or anything, but I can do as much damage with a pencil as I can with a gun or a fucking a knife, right?
Right. Yeah, there definitely is this group of people, a small minority at the top of the gun community. It's like everyone thinks they're Wyatt Earp.
Oh, fuck.
They think your gun's crap, the way you're holding, your trigger discipline,
Yeah.
and you're kind of like, man, you may have shot more guns than me, but I put the time in to articulate, understand the gun, and I know more about what could happen when you pull a trigger than you do when you pull a trigger.
Yeah,
so,
just because you shoot a paper target or you got some fucking steel, they go ting.
Right.
That doesn't mitigate, or that doesn't translate into a real world scenario, right? And the legalities that go with it. You know, holy fuck, you pull that trigger, your life is changed forever. So is the person that you shot. And don't give me that fucking, well, he was a bad guy, he deserved it. At the end of the day, you still have to go to court and look at the family.
Right.
And say that little boy and be like, yeah, I'm the one who took your dad away. I don't give a shit if your dad's a piece of shit. That kid doesn't know that his dad's a piece of shit.
100%. Right.
He's looking at the guy who shot his dad.
Right. It's that circle again where it just... So one of the, like, touring, when you're with a band, like, you'll go to these venues where you kind of like, no cameras, but it's like knife, gun, grenade, cool. But someone like you who has the training, you can walk in with a pen or a pencil or a knitting needle. And so it kind of changes the way I think, where I'm like, man, anything in here is a weapon.
Yep.
And once you realize that, you can kind of adapt to the situation.
Without a doubt. And how hard is it? Like, okay, we're going to really make this ugly. You've got your principle, everything's good. How hard is it to really to bring in a small vial of acid? It's right. So then all of a sudden you got your principal, beautiful man or woman, doesn't matter, whatever they do, and to fucking spray their face with acid. It's not difficult. And there's no defense for it except for you diving in front of the fucking person, and then you're fucked for life.
Right.
When people want to do something, you know this better than anybody. If they really want to do something, they're gonna get it.
Right.
Right? You can't stop it. So and then that's where that whole fucking false sense of security. The problem I have with your industry or nightclub security or any security is it's smoke and mirrors.
Yes. Yep.
And you're not paid anywhere near enough ever for the job.
Right.
Right? And you're disposable. At the end of the day, everything's good until somebody they find better or they like better or who will actually fucking, like, again, I hate to use that My Bodyguard or whatever, fucking Kevin Costner. It's a shitty, it's a fucking ridiculous movie. But there's a lot of truth to that in the sense of when you're dealing with high net worth people who are detached from reality, they have no idea of what real danger is. And you've got to try to fucking educate them on their own safety. Like it just, the industry frustrates me to no end because of that.
And it doesn't help the fact that they can all go train through you or through whoever. Yet you'll always have that group of people that they're the friend or the cousin because they used to throw thrust kicks in high school and wrestle. Now they're the bodyguard. It's like, you look at them like, man, did you advance the show? Like, do you know like the routes out of here if there's a fire? Like, they're like, oh, well, I can fight. So
it's absolutely well, fuck. That's a whole different day's conversation.
So how do you stay so positive and kind of just upbeat?
Well, because I have bad days, right?
Okay. Yep.
So I mean, I try to be as transparent as possible with the fact that there's many days I wake up and I don't like who I'm looking at in the mirror, and I've got gremlins and demons just like everybody else.
Right.
And as long as I understand that I'm doing the best I can at this very moment, this second right now, and do my very best to not live in the past and not keep my eyes too far forward, all I can control is this moment right here.
Right.
So if I can try to smile more than I cry, and if I can try to just make one person smile more than they cry, then I've done a good job. And that's a lot of times that's what keeps people from fucking sucking on a bullet, man, is just they say hope should never be a course of action, right?
Right.
I had this conversation with a good friend of mine, Johnny Primo. He's like, Marcus, hope is not a course of action. I'm like, yeah, you're right, but without hope, you're not living, man. You need to have a little bit of hope. I have to have a little bit of hope, a little bit of faith, because if I start thinking about humanity and how stupid they really are, well, fuck, what's the use of bother living? Because humanity is, I have to have faith that there's good people, and I try to be a good person. If I try to do all those things, well, I can live hopefully a good life.
One of the things I love about you, and I think everyone should, again, look at your videos and your content you put out, the fact you are like a real gritty person. Yeah. And it's soothing to kind of be like, man, this is someone, I mean, I hate the term alpha male, but someone that's proud of who they are.
Yeah.
You're a warrior. And I think it projects like, hey, I can do that too. Like, I can be positive. And I think that is so essential.
Well, and I think, and how hard is it really? Like, how hard is it for me to walk up to you if I see you and we introduce each other and be like, hey, John, how are you, man? You good?
Right.
Everything's good? Yeah, I'm having a bad day. Well, okay. So, and to just listen, not listen with waiting for my turn to talk, but actually listen. Just be like, okay, man, just fucking, like I get a lot of messages, you know, and people are going through some fucking hard times, man. And sometimes they just need to hear. They just need to hear that somebody said, hey, you know what? I hear you. I have no fucking answers. I don't know why your lover was taken from you. I don't know why you got beaten by 7 men. I don't know why. Like, I don't have answers for that. But just know that I'm happy you're still alive.
Right.
There would be a lot of people that aren't dead now because of one person just listening for one or 2 seconds.
I think people kind of forget about humanity, and that if you can be empathetic and still be a badass. You can still have that side of you that.
Yeah. I think the most empathetic people I've ever met are people who will snatch the soul right out of you in fucking a heartbeat.
Right.
When you know what it's like to hurt somebody, you have a lot more empathy on how to be good to somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the topics, like the big one that I kind of, with COVID, like you see all the stuff with Upbeat and Maxwell.
Yeah.
And we actually did a talk with Dr. Lewis Lee, who is the founder of Children of the Night, which is she helps rescue sex trafficked children.
Yeah.
And so you kind of go down these rabbit holes talking about it. And I guess my question to you is, why is human trafficking / some of these states, and even some of these California states, trying to pass these pedophilia laws? The country of Greece is making it okay.
Oh, yeah.
So is it taboo to talk about it in a negative light? Because it seems like more people are concerned about tearing down a statue than rescuing the millions of kids that go disappear.
Yep. It's not a taboo thing. I think the fact is it just makes people uncomfortable because nobody wants to think about children getting raped. And nobody wants to sit there and take accountability for the fact that they didn't do jack shit to help any children from getting raped. The whole Epstein fucking thing and this broad that's on trial now. And so to put things in perspective, I'm going to try to keep this as light as possible. So 40 years ago, I was molested. And now I was molested by 2 different men. Now in 40 years, pedophiles 40 years ago were raping children.
Right.
Here we are 41 years later,
and
they're still doing it. Now, so whoever's watching this up to this point, I want to tell those people something. In 6 months, when it's no longer cool to talk about sex trafficking or pedophiles or anything, I want you, the person listening to this, to still make a fucking noise about it. I got fucking men and women who are boots on the ground, kicking down doors, snatching up kids to save them. And they've been doing it for 20 years. Craig Sawyer, right?
Sawyer, yep.
Hey, you know how fucking many years he's been doing that job?
Right.
And now it's fucking the big deal. Where were you fucking 15 years ago when he was doing it? So my point is pedophiles right now are hot topic, right? Everybody likes to talk about it. And in a little bit of time, you're going to get a bunch of actors who get thrown under the bus because they need to show that they're standing tall for it. It's the exact same as if you ask any border agent, okay? And you talk about the cartels or anything, and they throw away millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of product to the border to catch it so that the billions of other can get clear sailing. That's basically where we're at, the pedophile situation. You got a bunch of high names that are about to get thrown under the bus, and then society will be like, yeah, we made a difference. But they're just doing it so that all the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of other kids that they're snatching and raping aren't good. We just fucking deflect. Let the masses, let those sheep sit there and feel like they're doing a good thing by standing up. Fuck them. The best way to sit there, and I want pedophiles to be afraid. I want them back the way they were before, where they had to do shit really covertly. I want them fucking scared shitless because men and women in all the communities are watching everybody else's child. Who's that? That's my Uncle Bob. Bing. Hey, Joe.
Right.
I got your daughter here with an Uncle Jack. Yeah. It's my brother. I swear to God, everything's good. Okay. All right, Uncle Jack, you can take that kid. Like, we protect our fucking our neighborhoods. Imagine on a global level. Well, then it's a lot fucking harder to snatch kids if all of a sudden we're watching for our kids. I'm sure you saw the video. You saw the video in China, kids playing, monkey comes by on the thing.
What the hell?
That was a trained a trained animal.
Right.
So if you want the scope of how big this is, you've got men and women who are training animals to snatch kids. It's a $1 billion industry.
Right. It's bigger than oil right now. It's insane.
And it's always been bigger. It's always been. So where I get frustrated, and I really am, like, I was happy you wanted to talk about it, but I'm frustrated to talk about it because I get angry at the fact that pedophiles have power over their victims because of the fact that don't tell anybody. It's your fault that it happened. First of all, if you've been molested, it's not your fault. So fucking try your best to let go of it. Don't let that fucking man or woman who molested you have that power to be like, you know what? Fuck you. You got me that time. Now I'm going to be an advocate for other children because I'm going to, whatever you're going to do it. Right. Whether that's just watch over kids or whatever. It doesn't matter. But be a loud fucking noise. I have this hashtag that I've been doing for fucking ever. Be a nightmare for bad guys. Now, it's got a multitude of different meanings behind it. But today's meaning on this show means be a nightmare for those fucking sex traffickers who are profiting off of our kids. And be a nightmare for pedophiles by knowing that if we see you and we catch you, bad things are going to happen. Don't leave it to the legal system because they're not going to do a goddamn thing about it. They're overfunded or overworked already. Sex crime units are getting cut.
Right.
It's not by accident that they're getting cut.
Right. It's one of those things where you're like, you feel for the victims, but at the same time, there's countries out there like Greece that are now making it okay, in a sense that if you're 13 or whatever, you could have been. It's like it's a weird. Yeah. I wish there was more that could be done for the victims, but I think this goes so high that we'll cut the head off, we'll cut the feet off some of the celebrities. Prince Andrew, okay, cool, but we're gonna protect these snakeheads growing. Yeah. So in 40 years, when I'm talking with Marcus, the same shit's happening again.
Yeah. And the best way that we can help survivors of any of this stuff is, one, to let them know that it's okay to feel the way they do, but we need to let the victims, their accountability has to be on themselves. Don't let them have power. Stand tall. It's not your fault. Fucking go and live a great life. The best punishment you can give to a pedophile is to look them, if you ever see them, look them in the eyes and be like, you're only alive because it's illegal for me to kill you. You don't have any power over me. And as a result of what happened to you, I've sat there and saved 7 other kids. Now, the cameras are away. Good. I'll gut you like a fucking pig.
Right.
But you're only alive right now because of the fact that I can't kill you. There's too many people around.
Do you think a pedophile could be reformed?
No.
Or are they already okay?
Nope. Because studies have shown that they castrated them and they went and abused it anyways. Right. This is where, and I hate saying that because all of a sudden they're like, see, Marcus, it is a mental disease. I've got a mental disease for you. It's called Drano, and I'm going to put it in a fucking vial and I'm going to inject it in your fucking skull. That'll fry everything. Then there you go. Like I have zero. When it comes to people who rape or like rape women,
right.
I'm sorry, I should say rape in general. Just if you rape someone, you are no longer a part of our humanity. And if you don't believe me, look at our jail systems. So here we've got the worst fucking people on the planet. Worst. I mean, the fucking degenerates of society.
Who do they kill?
Yep. And that's why they segregate, and they'll still get them.
Yeah, we had that Boston Archdiocese Gagnon, I think a couple years ago. But he was part of like obviously the issues of the Catholic Church, and they put him in general pop. I think literally in a day, they, like these hardened guys are like these people that literally shot and killed gang members. They're like, we don't want that here.
Nope.
And so it's. I don't want to say it's cool to see that type of structure because obviously they're in there for a reason.
Yeah.
But I wish that type of mentality was everyone thought that same way. It's some sort of, hey,
justice is justice, man.
Right.
You can't sit there and say that it's a bad thing because the people that say, you got a lot of bleeding hearts who are like, no, everybody deserves to be tried. And I get all of that. That's great because it's not your kid.
Right.
When you find out that your kid was violated by this individual and you can look me in the eyes and say, you know what, I still think he should go to jail because I believe in the legal system. I'm going to say, you're right. He should go to jail, but put him in general population. No special treatment, no nothing. Just put everybody, and then let's see how you do. Now, there's pedophiles that are very, very bad people, and they'll survive in jail, no problem. But it's just a matter of time.
Right.
Right? So I'm all for self-justice. I don't give a shit.
Do you have kids?
I have a 24-year-old boy, but he has cerebral palsy. He's very severely handicapped. And I've been blessed to be in the lives of a few, they're now much older children. But any child, do you have children?
I do not, no.
Okay. Do you have nieces, nephews?
I do. And I picture something happen to them. I'm like, I guess for me, like I have such a bad temper when I can control it, obviously in a professional manner, but the minute something like that happens, I don't know how I'd be able to process.
Yeah.
Like even if you got punched or kicked, like I'd just be like, I just want to tear that skin off that person.
Yeah.
And so how do you actually had something done to you.
Yeah.
And for the last 40 years, you've had to have that searing anger inside you.
Yep.
And control it, yet use that anger to help others who might not have a voice like you do.
Yeah, but that took a lot of years, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm 51. If I'm still the same mentality as I was when I was 12, 13, 14, whatever, like fuck, man, that's not evolution. I think when you talk to other people who have had some type of abuse, you start to compare, not compare stories, but you compare each other. And the best thing that you can do for someone, if you meet somebody who has been abused and they had the courage to vocalize it, first of all, that's awesome.
Right.
Is to sit there and be like, right on. I'm happy that you're beating this, or that you're not giving them any power, and then let them show but in your actions that, hey, you're a good person. You're not a piece of shit.
Right.
And whatever that person took from you, it's gone. So don't bother fucking dwelling on it. And I don't like the word victim. I don't like survivor. At the end of the day, when you look at people who have survived cancer, right? They didn't survive it. They thrived in adversity.
Right.
They looked at fucking thing and said, fuck you, I'm not going to let you beat me. What's the difference between that and surviving a pedophile attack? You didn't survive it. You're thriving. You looked at it and you said, fuck you, you're not going to beat me.
Right.
How we view that scenario helps us how we view ourselves. And how we view ourselves is the number one cancerous problem that we have in our society, is when we look in the mirror and we don't like what we see. And that breaks my heart because I know what that's like.
Right.
So go ahead.
Let's talk about that T-shirt you got going on right now and the feathers you've kind of ruffled. And where can people get it and buy it?
Well, I created a shirt. It's a black shirt with orange square. Unfortunately, my printer fucking was a retard. Didn't give us a hard copy of it. I fucking hate them. But it basically is you'll see it on, if you go to my Instagram, there's pictures all over. But it's a orange box, and it has 4 simple words: hunt your local pedophile. Very simple. Fucking Helen Keller could read it. It's very clear.
Yep.
And I've got, we did a pre-sale that we ended on Sunday, and we sold a decent amount, not huge. I'm a little disappointed in the numbers, but then I'm also excited for the fact that we still did, some good numbers on it. But it was the reactions from people. Like I have some people who bought it and said, I can never wear it because of my job or whatever. I get it. I get it. But I had people who were like, well, I'm not going to wear it because I'm giving them a platform. And I looked at that person. I said, a platform? Well, yeah, if we bring it up, then it shows attention.
That's the problem right there.
Yeah, right there. And I looked at this person, and it was well, I had actually 3, believe it or not, 2 guys and a girl. And I looked at them the same way, separate situation. I said, you're part of the fucking problem because you don't want to bring it up.
Right.
You're letting them fucking sit there and have that power. Fuck that.
Right.
If the people that look at it are going to do 2 things, either you're a pedophile and you're like, fuck you, I hate you. Good. I want you to hate me. Because if I ever find out who you are, I'm going to fucking put a liquid mercury in your fucking pee-pee hole and see how you like that. Or you're for it because of the fact you realize that they should be afraid. I want pedophiles to be afraid. I want them to absolutely, like right now in our current environment, most pedophiles are like, fuck.
Right.
Why are wood chips things sales going through the roof? Fuck yeah, throw them all in. Zero. And again, a pedophile to me is not a man or a woman.
Right.
They're a thing. Because there's women pedophiles as well. And while the numbers of them are less, they should be fucking chopped up too. Do you know that we would not have a deficit in America if we sat there and said, okay, we got probably about 1,500 to 2,000 pedophiles. We know they're pedophiles. We know for sure. And we're going to do pay-per-view. We're going to pay-per-view their demise. And you just pay a simple amount every GoFund, and that money will go towards the deficit. We would pay that deficit off, the $1 trillion deficit. We would pay that deficit off in a week.
Right.
Because there's not one person who wouldn't put a couple of bucks towards watching some skin get peeled off of somebody's fucking, some pedophile's arm.
Right.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's awesome too.
It's, again, I can't reiterate this enough. You're so raw. It's so refreshing to talk to someone that doesn't have, I don't want to say an agenda in that sense. More, you're just very... Like you look at you and you're like, man, this guy has a story to tell. He's real, and I definitely want more people to start listening to you, and checking you out, and man, it's just awesome.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to be able to. I'm very bad at censoring what I have to say. If I have to censor what I have to say, it just I feel very inauthentic.
You shouldn't say it.
Yeah,
if you have to censor it, right?
Yeah, and that's not right because what I have to say is I'm very mindful of everybody's feelings and emotions. I'm very empathetic. But when it comes to certain subjects, I think that there's no need for soft selling it. Now, if you have somebody who's survived cancer, I'm going to be empathetic to that survivor, but I am going to shake their hand and be like, you're a fucking warrior, man. You're a fucking superstar.
Badass.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Fuck yeah. Now, why can't we do that with, why is it just one person? Why can't it be hundreds and tens of hundreds of thousands and millions of people who just pump up our fellow human being?
People live in their own little bubble. They're so ignorant towards other. I mean, everyone has a bad day. Everyone can have a shitty day, but you're not. If I'm having a bad day, why do I have to let Marcus know I'm having a bad day? Because he may have a bad day, but he's not letting me know he has a bad day. So let's just be good people. How hard is that?
Well, yeah, and just remember though, when you have a bad day, it's a bad moment, really.
Right.
Because in 24 hours, for a full 24 hours to be a bad day would be that's very rare.
Right.
But it's usually a bad moment that ruins a bad day, that turns to a bad week. Just fucking, if you have a bad moment, embrace that bad moment. It's over with, and be done with it.
Right.
It's not rocket science. I don't claim to have all the fucking answers, and I want to make sure we're clear. I have really bad days. I had a couple of days ago, I had a fucking horrific, just complete mental meltdown and just angry and wanted to kill everything. Okay.
Well, here you are. Right.
And here I am, because at the end of the day, I know that somebody either A, has it worse than me, which is very, very possible. And even if there isn't anybody that has it worse than me, I look back at where I am before to now and what's happened and what hasn't happened and what I've done, what I haven't done, and I want to have the fewest regrets possible. And the best way to have less regrets is to not live in the past and be angry about what happened 5 minutes ago. Fuck, it's over with. Be done with it.
Right.
Right?
So you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook.
I am.
Do you have a website or anything? How can people kind of...
Yeah, no, I don't have a website because I'm the worst self-promoter on the fucking planet. but yeah, Instagram is it, and then there's 2 pages on Facebook. One is like a regular page, and then one is a fan page, which is fucking ridiculous, which I had to get because my
business stuff, right?
Business. Well, I switched. My normal page is like my business page, and my fan page is like where I spend 3 or 4 minutes fucking venting and oh my god, you want to hear ramblings, go to that page.
Some of the best ones though are like when it comes on Instagram, it seems like, oh, Marcus is live, I'll tune in, I'll be like, okay, one, he's gonna have his coffee, got the earbuds in, I cannot wait to see what he's talking about right now.
Fuck
yeah, it's all about who you are, and I could appreciate this time with you.
Oh, I'm thankful, really. I'm really thankful that you reached out and that we did it, because I'm not. You've had some big fucking names on your thing, man, and so I feel thankful that I get that opportunity to just be able to have a good conversation with a solid dude.
I'm gonna let Keith know you're a fan of his, and I'm gonna put him direct with you, because you guys actually kind of share some very similar like philosophies of beliefs.
He's a fucking rock star. Like, I just actually, ironically, I won't take up too much more time.
No, I love it.
But like 3 weeks ago, or maybe 4 weeks ago, I YouTubed some of his old performances that he had done during tournaments, and it was like reliving my childhood. I was like, God damn, he looked good there doing that stuff. And even with all his acting like that kind of went a different direction. He went that direction. But while he was the wushu fucking king of America, he was the shit, man.
Yeah.
Fuck, he was doing some original creative shit.
So yeah. I'll put you guys direct. You guys will have a fun time.
Yeah, thank you. Ironically, the style of karate that I took, his brother or somebody related to him ended up doing the same system. I was in Boston at a summer camp, and this guy, something Hirabayashi, I was like, right, are you related to Keith Hirabayashi? And he was like looking at me like, who the fuck are you, buddy? I'm like, you're a little fucking green belt or something. But I was like, yeah, we're related. I was like, that's fucking cool, man. The guy I idolize in one style of martial art is related to this fucking douchebag that's actually wasn't a douchebag, but I probably just caught him at a bad day because I didn't know. I was fucking younger, so I probably was like, hey, what are you doing? He was in the middle of fucking something important. I'm like, hey,
right.
Fucking idiot. Right on.
So thanks again, Marcus.
Right on. Well, thank you for doing it, and hopefully some people enjoy this. Right on.